Introduction: The Two Versions of You. Right now, as you read these words, two versions of you exist simultaneously. The first version is the one living your current life, accepting your current limitations, making excuses for why you can't have what you want, telling yourself that someday things will be different. The second version is the person you could become, a relentless, unstoppable force that already exists within you, quietly waiting to be set free. The gap between these two versions isn't talent, luck, or the circumstances life handed you. It's belief. Specifically, it's self-belief, the single most powerful force that separates those who achieve extraordinary things from those who quietly settle for ordinary ones. And here's the truth that changes everything. Belief isn't something you're born with or without. It's something you can force yourself to develop systematically and deliberately, starting today. This guide will teach you how to rewire your brain for unshakable self-belief. You'll discover the exact psychological techniques used by the most successful people in the world to crush self-doubt, build unstoppable confidence, and program their minds for inevitable success. By the time you reach the final chapter, you won't just believe in yourself a little more. You'll know with absolute certainty that you are unstoppable. Let's begin. Chapter 1. The Belief Cage: Why Your Mind Keeps You Small. Your biggest enemy isn't the economy, your competition, or the difficult circumstances life has thrown at you. Your biggest enemy is the voice inside your head that whispers, "You're not good enough, not smart enough, not capable enough to create the life you want." And here's the uncomfortable truth you need to hear right now. That voice isn't telling you the truth. It's telling you a story. That story has been quietly running in the background of your mind for years, maybe decades. It was written during the most impressionable chapters of your life, when your brain was like wet cement, absorbing every comment, every criticism, every moment of failure or rejection, and hardening around those experiences as if they were eternal facts. Maybe a teacher once told you that you weren't smart. Maybe your parents, with the best of intentions, suggested you were too sensitive, too unrealistic, or too ambitious for your own good. Maybe you tried something important and fell short, and your brain, trying to protect you from that pain ever happening again, decided the safest strategy was simply to believe you didn't have what it takes. Every single limitation you currently believe about yourself is nothing more than a mental program running silently in the background of your mind. These programs were installed when you were young, and they've been reinforced by repetition ever since. But here's the thing that will set you free. None of these limitations are real. They live only in your mind, and what exists only in your mind can be changed. Think about this for a moment. Right now, at this very instant, there are people in the world who are less educated than you, who started with worse circumstances than you, who have fewer resources and connections than you, and yet they are achieving things you only dream about. What separates them from you isn't ability. It's the story they believe about themselves. Your subconscious mind doesn't distinguish between what's real and what's vividly imagined. It simply accepts as absolute truth whatever you consistently feed it. If you consistently tell yourself you're not good enough, your subconscious will dutifully find evidence to support that belief everywhere you look. It will make you notice every failure while filtering out every success. It will make you hesitate, The moment an opportunity appears, it will quietly sabotage your efforts to ensure that your outer world perfectly matches your inner programming. This is precisely why positive thinking alone doesn't work. You can repeat uplifting affirmations all morning while your subconscious mind keeps running the same old software of limitation and fear underneath. It's like trying to drive forward with the handbrake fully engaged. You'll inch along, sure, but you'll never reach the speed you're capable of until you release that brake completely. The first step toward becoming unstoppable is truly recognizing, that every single belief you have about your limitations is a choice. You didn't choose these beliefs consciously. They were installed without your permission, often by people who meant well, but were operating from their own limitations. But you can choose to change them deliberately and consciously, starting right now. The moment you realize that your beliefs are not facts, they're simply thoughts you rehearsed so many times they feel true, you begin to reclaim your power. Most people live their entire lives trapped in a cage built entirely from their own thoughts. They never stop to question whether the bars are real. They simply accept them as permanent walls and spend their entire lives gathering more evidence to prove the cage exists. But you are not most people. You are here because some part of you already knows the cage isn't real. The walls are made of thoughts, and thoughts can be changed. The lock on the door is fear, and fear can be conquered. The key to your freedom is the recognition that you have the absolute power to choose what you believe about yourself. And the moment you choose to believe you are unstoppable, the transformation begins. Changing deeply rooted beliefs won't be easy. Your mind will resist. It will whisper all the familiar reasons why you should stay small, stay safe, stay exactly where you are. But here's something worth understanding deeply, that resistance isn't evidence that change is impossible. It's evidence that change is already happening. The stronger the resistance, the more significant the transformation taking place beneath the surface. Your current beliefs were formed through repetition and emotional intensity. To change them, you use the exact same process in reverse, repeatedly exposing your mind to new beliefs about yourself, attaching strong positive emotions to those new beliefs until they become more real to your subconscious than the old limitations ever were. This isn't about lying to yourself. This isn't about pretending to be something you're not. This is about recognizing a deeper truth about your potential, a truth that your limiting beliefs have been hiding from you all along. Deep beneath all the programming and conditioning, you already know you're capable of extraordinary things. You've always known it. You can feel it stirring within you right now. The time has come to stop living as a prisoner of your own mind. The key is already in your hand. All you have to do is choose to believe in yourself as powerfully as you've been. Choosing to believe in your limitations. Chapter 2. The Science of Self-Belief. Rewiring your brain for success. Your brain is not fixed. This single fact changes everything. For decades, scientists believed that the adult brain was essentially set in stone, that you were stuck with whatever neural pathways you developed early in life. This outdated idea kept millions of people trapped in patterns of limitation, convinced that who they were at 30 was who they would always be. Neuroscience has since proven beyond any reasonable doubt that your brain is constantly changing, constantly rewiring itself based on your thoughts, emotions, and lived experiences. This process is called neuroplasticity, and it's the biological foundation of your ability to transform yourself completely. Not someday, but starting right now. Every thought you think strengthens certain neural pathways and weakens others. Every emotion you feel literally reshapes the physical structure of your brain. Every experience you have creates new connections between neurons. This means your capacity for self-belief isn't determined by your genes or your past. It can be developed, strengthened, and expanded, just like a muscle you train consistently over time. When you think a thought, your brain creates a neural pathway. Think that same thought again, and the pathway gets a little stronger. Think it enough times, and it becomes a superhighway, a mental pattern so automatic that your brain travels it without any conscious effort at all. This is precisely how beliefs are formed. They are simply thoughts you've thought so many times that your brain has built highways to support them. The beliefs you hold about yourself right now, whether empowering or limiting, exist as physical structures in your brain. The good news? You can build new structures and let the old ones weaken from disuse. Every time you consciously choose to think a new thought about yourself, you're literally rewiring your brain at a cellular level. Every time you act in a way that's consistent with who you want to become rather than who you've been, you're strengthening the neural pathways that support your new identity. But here's what most people miss about neuroplasticity. It's not enough to think empowering thoughts occasionally. Your brain changes based on what you consistently focus on, not what you occasionally wish for. If you spend 5 minutes each morning telling yourself you're capable and confident, but then spend the other 16 hours running old patterns of self-doubt and limitation, your brain will always strengthen the dominant pattern. This is why most people fail to create lasting change. They try to think positively while continuing to live negatively. They affirm their potential while acting from their limitations. They hope for transformation while maintaining the exact same thoughts, emotions, and behaviors that created their current reality. To rewire your brain for unshakable self-belief, you must become obsessively consistent with your new programming. You must think, feel, and act from your desired identity so frequently and so intensely that your brain has no choice but to build new neural pathways to support it. You must make your new beliefs feel more familiar to your subconscious than your old limitations ever did. The reticular activating system, or RAS, is another crucial piece of the puzzle. This network of neurons acts as your brain's filter, deciding what information reaches your conscious awareness from the tidal wave of sensory data your brain processes every second. Your RAS is programmed directly by your beliefs. If you believe you're unlucky, your RAS will highlight evidence of bad luck while filtering out every stroke of good fortune. If you believe you're capable and destined for success, your RAS will start lighting up opportunities, resources, and supportive people you previously walked right past. This is why two people can experience the identical situation and come away with completely different perceptions of what happened. Their RAS filters the same reality through different belief systems, creating entirely different lived experiences. Change your beliefs about yourself, and you literally change what you perceive as possible in your world. Mirror neurons add another fascinating dimension to the science of self-belief. These specialized brain cells fire both when you perform an action and when you simply observe someone else performing that same action. This is why spending consistent time around confident, successful, self-believing people can actually rewire your brain for those same qualities. Your mirror neurons absorb and mimic the neural patterns of the people you surround yourself with most frequently. If you consistently spend time around people who doubt themselves, complain constantly, and settle for less, your mirror neurons will quietly reinforce those same patterns in your own brain. But immerse yourself in the energy of people who believe in themselves powerfully, who take bold action, and genuinely expect positive outcomes. And your brain will begin mirroring those patterns instead. The prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for decision-making and deliberate self-control, also plays a vital role in developing self-belief. Every time you consciously choose a thought or action that aligns with who you want to become rather than who you've been, you strengthen this part of your brain. The stronger your prefrontal cortex becomes, the easier it becomes to override automatic patterns of limitation and consciously choose empowering beliefs instead. Visualization is another powerful tool for leveraging your brain's natural plasticity. When you vividly imagine yourself succeeding, achieving your goals, expressing unshakable confidence, handling challenges with calm authority, your brain fires many of the same neural patterns as if you were actually living those moments. The more specific and emotionally charged your visualizations, the more real they become to your subconscious. But visualization without action is just daydreaming. The most powerful way to rewire your brain is through what neuroscientists call embodied cognition, thinking, feeling, and acting as the person you want to become, all at once. When you align your thoughts, your emotions, and your behaviors with your desired identity simultaneously, you create a kind of coherence in your nervous system that dramatically accelerates the rewiring process. Your brain is always changing. The only question is whether it's changing in a direction that supports your greatest potential or one that reinforces your limitations. Every single moment of every day, you are either building the neural pathways of unstoppable self-belief or reinforcing the patterns of doubt. There is no neutral position. You are either growing stronger or growing weaker, becoming more confident or more fearful, moving toward your unstoppable self or away from it. The power is entirely in your hands. Your brain is waiting for new instructions. The neural pathways of extraordinary self-belief are ready to be built. All you have to do is commit, genuinely, completely commit to the process of consistent, deliberate mental training. Chapter 3. The Identity Shift, Becoming the Person You Were Meant to Be. Who you believe you are determines everything you do. Your identity is the most powerful force in your entire psychology because every decision you make, every action you take, and every goal you set is filtered through your sense of self. If you see yourself as someone who struggles, you will unconsciously make choices that keep you struggling. If you see yourself as someone destined for greatness, you will naturally gravitate toward choices that lead to exactly that. Most people attempt to change their results without ever changing their identity. And this is precisely why they fail. They want to be successful while still seeing themselves somewhere deep down as people who fail. They want to feel confident while maintaining a core identity built on insecurity. They want to achieve extraordinary things while genuinely believing at their foundation that they are ordinary people. This approach is destined to fail because your external world will always, without exception, eventually mirror your internal identity. Your current identity wasn't consciously chosen. It was assembled over years of experiences, feedback from people around you, and the stories you told yourself about what those experiences meant. Someone called you shy once, and you accepted that as a permanent truth about yourself. You stumbled at something important and decided in that moment of pain that you were fundamentally a person who fails. Someone whose opinion mattered to you offered criticism, and you concluded that you simply weren't good enough. But here's what you absolutely must understand. Your identity is not who you are. It's who you've decided to be based on limited information and often wildly inaccurate interpretations. The person who believes they are shy isn't inherently shy. They've simply practiced shy behavior so consistently for so long that those behaviors became part of their self-concept. The person who believes they are a failure hasn't failed permanently. They've focused so relentlessly on their failures while filtering out their successes that failure became their story. Your true identity, your essential self, is far more powerful than the limited version you've accepted. At your core, you are a being of unlimited potential, capable of learning anything, achieving anything, and becoming anything you genuinely set your mind to. The limitations you've woven into your identity aren't facts. They are habits of thought and behavior, and habits can always be changed. To become truly unstoppable, you must consciously choose a new identity and then relentlessly act from that identity until it becomes more real to your subconscious mind than your old limitations ever were. This requires stepping into genuinely unfamiliar territory, thinking thoughts that don't match your current self-concept, acting in ways that feel foreign to who you've been. It will feel uncomfortable. That discomfort is not a warning sign. It's a growth sign. The first step in shifting your identity is getting crystal clear about who you actually want to become. Not what you want to have or accomplish, but who you want to be. What are the defining characteristics of your unstoppable self? How does this person think? How do they feel when they wake up in the morning? How do they respond when things go sideways? How do they treat the people around them? How do they speak to themselves in the quiet moments when no one else is watching? Write a detailed description of your ideal identity. Don't constrain yourself by what feels realistic based on who you are right now. Your current identity wasn't realistic when you first started developing it either. You weren't born knowing how to be insecure or doubtful. You learned those patterns and you can learn new ones. Once you have a clear vision of your new identity, begin acting from that identity immediately, even before it feels natural, even when it feels completely fake. This is what psychologists call behavioral activation, and it's one of the most powerful tools for creating rapid transformation. When you act as though you already are the person you're becoming, your brain begins wiring itself to support that new self-concept. The actions come first. The authentic feeling follows. Every action you take either reinforces your current identity or builds your new one. When you choose courage over fear in a small moment, you strengthen your identity as a courageous person. When you choose confidence over doubt in a minor interaction, you reinforce your identity as a confident person. When you choose persistence over quitting during a minor frustration, you solidify your identity as someone who doesn't stop. These aren't dramatic moments. They're the quiet, cumulative acts through which identities are built. Your new identity will feel uncomfortable at first, genuinely uncomfortable, because it's unfamiliar. Your brain is wired to seek the familiar even when the familiar is limiting and painful. This is why you might feel resistance when you start speaking up more assertively, pursuing bigger goals, or expecting better outcomes. Your old identity is fighting to maintain control. This isn't fakeness. This is growth. Authenticity isn't about being true to who you've been. It's about being true to who you're becoming. Your authentic self is not your limited self. It's your unlimited self. You're not becoming someone else. You're becoming who you really are beneath all the programming. Language plays a quietly critical role in identity formation. The words you use when talking about yourself are constantly programming your subconscious. When you say, "I am not good at this," or "I'm just not that kind of person," you're literally installing limitations into your identity. Instead, consciously choose language that creates space for growth. "I'm learning to be good at this," or "I'm becoming the kind of person who does this." Small shifts in language create massive shifts in identity over time. Your new identity needs evidence to become real. But here's the beautiful part. You don't need to wait for evidence before claiming the identity. You create the evidence by acting from the identity. Every courageous choice creates evidence that you are courageous. Every moment of persistence creates evidence that you are unstoppable. Every act of self-belief creates evidence that you are powerful. You build the identity and the evidence at the same time. The compound effect applies to identity development just as powerfully as it applies to anything else. Small, consistent actions aligned with your new identity create massive transformation over time. You don't become unstoppable overnight, but you can become a little more unstoppable today and a little more tomorrow, until one day you look back and can barely recognize the person you used to be. Chapter 4. Breaking Through the Fear Barrier. Conquering the voice that says you can't fear is not your enemy. Fear is your compass. Every single time you feel afraid, you're being pointed toward exactly what you need to do to grow. Every time that voice in your head says you can't, it's actually showing you the path to your next breakthrough. Most people spend their entire lives running from fear. Unstoppable people run toward it. They've learned that on the other side of fear lies everything they've ever wanted. The fear you feel when you imagine believing in yourself powerfully, when you picture pursuing your biggest goals without apology, isn't random. It's your brain's way of trying to protect you from the unknown. Your brain is exquisitely designed to keep you alive, not to help you thrive. It treats anything unfamiliar as potentially dangerous, including the unfamiliar territory of owning your full power and genuinely expecting success. But here's what your fearful mind doesn't understand. Staying small is actually the most dangerous thing you can do. Playing it safe is the riskiest strategy of all. When you hold back your potential, when you silence your dreams, when you settle for less than you're capable of, you're not protecting yourself. You're slowly eroding yourself. You're dying a quiet death of regret and unfulfilled potential, and that kind of death is far more painful than any risk you could ever take. Fear is a shapeshifter. Sometimes it shows up as that voice that asks, "Who do you think you are?" When you dare to dream bigger than your past. Sometimes It disguises itself as practical logic, offering you rational-sounding reasons why your goals are unrealistic or your timing is off. Sometimes it masquerades as consideration for others, making you worry about what people will think if you start showing up more powerfully in the world. The most insidious form of fear, though, is the fear of success itself. Deep down, many people are far more afraid of succeeding than of failing, because success means change, responsibility, and stepping permanently into the unknown. Failure, paradoxically, is familiar. It confirms what you already believe about yourself and lets you stay right where you are, which at least has the comfort of being known. Fear of success often has its roots in old programming. Maybe you absorbed messages as a child that successful people are selfish, or that wanting too much is somehow wrong. Maybe you learned that standing out is dangerous, that it's safer and kinder to blend in. These subconscious beliefs create invisible resistance to your own success, quietly sabotaging your efforts precisely when you're about to break through. Another layer of fear that keeps people stuck is the fear of responsibility. When you genuinely believe in yourself and your capabilities, you can no longer convincingly blame your circumstances, your past, or other people for your results. Full self-belief means full accountability, and that level of ownership can feel overwhelming to someone who hasn't practiced it. It's easier, in a way, to believe you're powerless, because powerlessness comes bundled with the comfort of having someone or something else to blame. The fear of judgment is perhaps the most universal barrier. We worry endlessly about what others will think if we start acting more confidently, pursuing our dreams more aggressively, refusing to settle for mediocrity. We imagine people whispering that we've gotten too big for ourselves, that we're delusional, that we're setting ourselves up for embarrassment. But here's the truth. Most people are so consumed with managing their own insecurities that they barely register what you're doing. And the people who do judge you for believing in yourself, they're almost always the ones most frustrated by their own lack of self-belief. The way to conquer fear is not to eliminate it. That's impossible and not even desirable. It's to dance with it. Fear never disappears completely, not even for the most successful, confident people you admire. The difference is that they've learned to feel fear and take action anyway. They've learned to use fear as fuel rather than letting it become a wall. When fear arises, the first move is to recognize it for what it actually is: information. Fear is your brain's signal that something matters, that you're on the edge of growth, that you're about to expand. Instead of retreating from that feeling, get curious about it. What specifically are you afraid of? What is the worst-case scenario your mind is constructing? And most importantly, what would actually happen if that worst case came true? More often than not, you'll discover that your fears are dramatically exaggerated. Your mind is running catastrophic simulations of outcomes that are statistically unlikely. And even if the worst did happen, you would almost certainly handle it far better than your fearful imagination suggests. You've already survived things that once seemed unsurvivable. Deliberate worst-case scenario planning is a surprisingly liberating practice. Instead of trying to avoid thinking about what could go wrong, deliberately imagine your worst fears coming true, and then plan how you would handle them. When you realize you could survive and even grow through your worst-case scenario, the fear loses most of its power over you. You're no longer running from a shadow. You've turned around and looked it in the face. Another powerful practice is flipping the script on loss. Instead of focusing on what you might lose by taking action, focus with equal intensity on what you will definitely lose by staying still. What will your life look like in 5 years if you let fear keep you exactly where you are today? What dreams will remain as dreams? What potential will stay locked inside you? What regrets will you carry? The pain of regret is almost always far greater than the temporary discomfort of facing fear head on. Here's something fascinating about the physiology of fear. Fear and excitement are almost neurologically identical. Both produce increased heart rate, heightened alertness, a rush of adrenaline, a narrowing of focus. The only real difference is your interpretation of those sensations. When you expect something good, you call it excitement. When you expect something bad, you call it fear. You can literally transform fear into excitement by consciously shifting your interpretation of what your body is telling you. The sensations are the same. Only the story changes. The voice that says you can't is not the voice of truth. It is the voice of old limitation, of every dream that was ever abandoned, of every potential that was never given a chance. But alongside that voice, you have another voice, the voice of your unlimited self, the voice of your deepest dreams, the voice of who you know you could be. The only question is which voice you choose to amplify, and that choice is yours to make right now, in this moment. Chapter 5. The Power of Relentless Self-Validation. Stop seeking approval and start approving of yourself. The moment you stop seeking validation from the outside world and start generating it from within is the moment you become truly unstoppable. Most people are trapped in an exhausting cycle of trying to earn their worth, constantly looking outside themselves for confirmation that they're good enough, smart enough, lovable enough, capable enough. This external validation addiction is one of the most significant barriers to developing unshakable self-belief. When you anchor your self-worth to other people's opinions, you hand them the controls. You allow strangers, colleagues, even people who barely know you to determine how you feel about yourself on any given day. Someone has a bad morning and snaps at you, and suddenly you spiral into questioning your value. Someone doesn't respond to your message right away, and you convince yourself they don't like you. Someone criticizes your work, and you begin to doubt not just the work, but your fundamental ability. This pattern of validation seeking is learned behavior, not a personality trait. Watch a young child before they've been taught to seek approval, and you'll see pure, uninhibited self-expression. A toddler dancing doesn't wonder if their dancing is good enough. A young child drawing doesn't worry whether their art will be praised. They create, they play, they exist with complete unself-consciousness. Somewhere along the way, most of us learn that love and acceptance are conditional, that we must perform in certain ways to be worthy of positive attention. The education system deepens this pattern by making us dependent on external grades and teacher approval. The workplace continues the conditioning through performance reviews and the constant need to satisfy those above us in the hierarchy. Social media has taken the whole thing to an extreme, turning validation seeking into a genuine addiction, with likes and comments becoming the new currency of self-worth. But here's what no one tells you growing up. Other people's opinions of you are not facts. They are reflections of those people's own beliefs, experiences, fears, and limitations. When someone judges you negatively, they aren't revealing an objective truth about you. They're revealing something about themselves. Their criticism tells you far more about their own insecurities and conditioning than it does about your actual worth or capabilities. The most successful, genuinely confident people in the world have learned to generate their own validation internally. They have developed a personal scoring system based on their own standards, not the shifting opinions of others. They know their worth isn't determined by external achievement or recognition, but by their own commitment to growth, authenticity, and showing up fully. Self-validation is not arrogance. It's not becoming dismissive of feedback or closing yourself off from growth. It's about developing such a strong, grounded relationship with yourself that other people's opinions become useful information to consider rather than verdicts to fear. When you validate yourself consistently, you can receive even harsh criticism without being shattered by it, because your sense of worth doesn't depend on the critic's approval. Start by noticing how often you unconsciously seek approval in your daily life. How many of your decisions are influenced or even driven by what others might think? How much mental energy do you spend rehearsing how you'll be perceived? How quickly does your mood change based on how others treat you? This awareness is the first step, because you genuinely cannot change what you haven't fully acknowledged. Begin questioning the authority you've given to specific people's opinions. Why does their approval matter so much? What makes their judgment more valid than your own? Often, when you examine this honestly, you'll discover that you've handed enormous power over your self-worth to people who don't really understand you, who haven't earned that authority, or who are navigating their own unresolved doubts. Build your own internal validation system by defining your personal standards of success and worthiness. What genuinely matters to you? What are you proud of right now as you are today? What progress have you made that you've been too quick to dismiss? What challenges have you already overcome that deserve more credit than you've given yourself? Create a running record of your accomplishments, your strengths, and your positive qualities, not to inflate your ego, but to give yourself the honest credit you've been withholding. Practice celebrating your wins with real enthusiasm, regardless of whether anyone else notices them. Most people are fluent in self-criticism and almost illiterate in self-acknowledgement. Start reversing this ratio deliberately. When you accomplish something meaningful, even something small, acknowledge it fully. When you make progress, let yourself feel it. When you overcome a challenge that once felt impossible, honor your resilience with genuine celebration. Stop apologizing for your existence. So many people have been conditioned to shrink, to apologize before sharing opinions, to minimize their ideas before anyone else gets a chance to preemptively dismiss their own worth before someone else does it first. Unless you've genuinely wronged someone, stop apologizing. Stand in your full space. Own your perspective. Express your thoughts without first making them small. Your worth is not up for debate. Your value is not determined by a vote. You are inherently worthy, capable, and deserving of everything you want simply because you exist and you're willing to do the work. The sooner you accept this truth and start living from it, the sooner you'll discover the extraordinary confidence that comes from knowing the most important opinion of you is your own. Chapter 6. mental rehearsal, programming your subconscious for inevitable success. Your mind cannot distinguish between a vividly imagined experience and a real one. This isn't a metaphor or a motivational exaggeration. It's established neuroscience. When you visualize yourself succeeding with complete sensory and emotional detail, your brain fires the exact same neural patterns as if you were actually living that moment of success. This means you can literally program your subconscious mind for success before it ever happens in your physical reality. Most people use their imagination against themselves with remarkable consistency and skill. They mentally rehearse failure, disaster, and rejection in extraordinary detail, running those negative scenarios over and over in their minds with full emotional intensity, unknowingly programming their subconscious for the exact outcomes they most want to avoid. Every time you lie awake, imagining embarrassing yourself, picturing things going wrong, replaying past failures, you're doing mental rehearsal, just in the wrong direction. You can flip this entirely. You can use the same mental machinery that currently generates anxiety and self-doubt to generate unshakable confidence and inevitable success. Instead, you can train your mind to expect positive outcomes so powerfully and so consistently that your subconscious will quietly work around the clock to make those expectations your reality. Elite athletes have known this secret for decades. Olympic competitors, world-class performers, championship teams, they spend significant time mentally rehearsing perfect performances long before the actual event. They see themselves executing flawlessly under maximum pressure. They feel the emotions of victory before a single competition begins. Research has consistently shown that mental practice can improve actual performance almost as much as physical practice. Some studies suggest that the most powerful combination of all is mental and physical practice together. The key to effective mental rehearsal is specificity combined with emotional intensity. Vaguely imagining yourself being successful does little, but creating detailed, vivid scenarios where you see yourself performing with complete confidence, handling obstacles with calm efficiency, and achieving your goals with absolute certainty. That rewires your brain at a deep level. The more specific and emotionally charged your visualization, the more undeniably real it becomes to your subconscious. Begin each mental rehearsal session by moving your body and mind into a relaxed state. Find a quiet place where you won't be interrupted. Close your eyes, take several deep, slow breaths, and allow your body to genuinely soften. This relaxed state makes your subconscious far more receptive to new programming, much like loosening soil before planting something new. Now, create a complete, high-definition movie in your mind of yourself performing at your absolute peak. If you're preparing for an important presentation, see yourself walking into the room with quiet, unshakable authority. Feel the certainty running through your body like electricity. Hear your voice clear and strong and compelling. See the faces of your audience fully engaged with every word. Feel the deep satisfaction of delivering something genuinely powerful. If you're working toward a major professional goal, visualize achieving it in complete sensory detail. See the specific numbers, the specific setting, the specific people around you in that moment of arrival. Feel the emotions flooding through you, the pride, the relief, the excitement, the deep sense of rightness. Hear the voices of people around you make it so real and so vivid that your nervous system responds as though it's actually happening. because neurologically, in many ways, it is. The emotional component is everything, because emotion is the language your subconscious speaks. It doesn't respond to dry logic or detached reasoning. It responds to feeling. When you genuinely feel the emotions of success during visualization, you're installing those feelings as your new normal baseline. Your brain begins to expect those feelings and will quietly orient your behavior toward creating the circumstances that match them. Make mental rehearsal a consistent daily practice, ideally twice a day, a focused session in the morning to set the programming before you engage with the world, and another before sleep, when your subconscious is most receptive. 10 to 15 minutes of intense, fully committed visualization is worth more than an hour of half-hearted hoping. Don't just visualize the final destination, also rehearse the journey. See yourself taking the specific actions required for success. Visualize yourself persisting through the inevitable challenges with grace and determination. See yourself bouncing back from setbacks stronger than you were before. When you mentally rehearse the full journey, rather than just the highlight reel ending, you prepare your mind for real-world complexity and build confidence in your ability to handle whatever comes. Use every available sense. Don't just see success. Hear it. Feel it physically in your body. Smell it. Taste it. The more sensory-rich your visualization, the more deeply it penetrates your subconscious programming. If you're imagining delivering a powerful speech, feel the fabric of your clothes against your skin. Hear the sound of genuine applause. See the light in the room. These sensory details signal to your brain that this experience is real and worth encoding as your new normal. Your imagination is one of the most powerful tools you possess. It's the workshop where your future is actually built. Every great achievement in human history began as someone's mental image of what could be possible. Before a single physical step was taken, the idea existed in someone's mind as fully real. Stop using this extraordinary faculty to rehearse your fears. Start using it to rehearse your greatness. Chapter 7. The Discipline of Unwavering Self-Belief. Building Unbreakable Mental Habits. Belief without discipline is simply wishful thinking dressed up in motivational language. You can have moments of genuine confidence, flashes of self-assurance, brief periods of powerful certainty. But unless you develop the discipline to maintain and strengthen these states consistently, they remain temporary visitors rather than permanent residents. True self-belief isn't a feeling you experience sometimes. It's a discipline you practice always. Most people treat confidence like a mood, waiting until they feel confident before taking confident action. This approach is completely backwards, and it's why so many people stay stuck. Confidence is not a prerequisite for action. It's the result of action. You don't become disciplined because you feel motivated. You feel motivated because you practice discipline. The same fundamental principle applies to self-belief. It's something you do, not something that happens to you. Every moment of every day, you're either practicing self-belief or practicing self-doubt. There is genuinely no neutral ground. You're either strengthening your confidence or weakening it, reinforcing your power or giving it away. The discipline of self-belief requires you to actively monitor and direct your internal dialogue rather than letting it run on autopilot. Most people are almost completely unaware of the constant conversation happening inside their minds. They allow their thoughts to run unchecked, thinking whatever arises without any conscious direction, not realizing that this unmonitored internal dialogue is programming their subconscious mind every single moment of every single day. If you want different results, you must take conscious control of this conversation. Start by catching yourself in the act of negative self-talk. The moment you notice yourself thinking, "I can't do this. I'm not smart enough for this. This won't work out for me." Stop. Don't judge yourself for having the thought. Just interrupt it consciously and choose a different one. This isn't about positive thinking as a performance. It's about refusing to program your mind with limitations when you could be programming it with possibilities. Replace every limiting thought with an empowering alternative. Instead of, "I can't do this," try, "I'm learning how to do this." Instead of, "I'm not good enough," try, "I'm becoming better every single day." Instead of, "This won't work," try, "I'll keep adjusting until I find what works." These aren't lies. They're more accurate reflections of reality than the limiting versions, because you genuinely are capable of learning, growing, and finding solutions. Create daily rituals that reinforce your self-belief the way daily hygiene rituals maintain your physical health. Start each morning by deliberately connecting with your capabilities, your worth, and your potential before the external world has a chance to pull you in any direction. This isn't about reciting empty phrases. It's about genuinely programming your mind for success before the day's inevitable challenges arrive. Your morning routine matters enormously. The first thoughts and emotions you experience each day set the frequency for everything that follows. Spend even 10 minutes reading something genuinely inspiring, reviewing your goals and past achievements, visualizing a successful day ahead, or simply sitting quietly in appreciation of who you're becoming. These small morning investments compound into massive shifts in your overall mindset over months and years. End each day by deliberately acknowledging your progress and wins. Before sleep, review 3 things you accomplished, learned, or overcame during the day, no matter how minor they might seem. This practice programs your subconscious with evidence of your capability while you sleep, ensuring that your last conscious thoughts before resting are empowering rather than defeating. Develop the habit of speaking about yourself with respect in every conversation. The way you describe yourself to others is heard with perfect clarity by your own subconscious mind. If you constantly downplay your abilities, make self-deprecating jokes at your own expense, or habitually focus on your weaknesses and limitations, you're programming yourself for exactly those limitations. Practice speaking about yourself with quiet confidence, pride in your growth, and genuine optimism about your future. Build physical reminders of your capabilities into your environment. Keep a success journal where you record wins regularly, however modest. Display certificates, photos, or meaningful objects that remind you of your accomplishments and your resilience. Your environment programs your subconscious constantly. Make sure it's consistently programming you for capability rather than limitation. Practice the discipline of immediate action. Whenever you think of something meaningful you should do to advance toward your goals, act on it as quickly as possible. This builds a powerful neural connection between intention and execution. It also creates evidence, real, undeniable evidence, that you are a person who follows through. And that evidence strengthens the identity of someone who can be trusted to show up for themselves. The discipline of unwavering self-belief is exactly like training a physical muscle. It requires consistent effort, progressive challenge, and genuine patience with the process. You will have days when your self-belief wavers, when old doubts resurface, when familiar patterns try to reclaim their territory. That's not failure. That's human. The discipline is in returning to your practices quickly rather than letting temporary lapses spiral into permanent patterns. Every single choice you make today is either strengthening your self-belief or weakening it. Every moment you choose to think from your potential rather than your past, every time you speak about yourself with respect, every time you act from your highest identity despite discomfort, you become more of the unstoppable person you're choosing to be. Chapter 8. Failure Proof. Self-belief transforming setbacks into comebacks. Unstoppable people don't avoid failure. They've learned to transform it. They understand at a level that goes beyond intellectual agreement that setbacks aren't evidence of inadequacy. They're the inevitable price of attempting anything significant. Every failure contains within it the seeds of a greater success, if you're willing to look for them, rather than simply being crushed by the moment. The critical difference between people who crumble after failure and those who come back stronger isn't their circumstances, it isn't their natural talent or their starting advantages. It's the meaning they assign to what happened. Failure is never really about the external event. It's about the story you choose to tell yourself in the aftermath. Two people can experience the exact same professional setback and walk away with completely different realities, based solely on the meaning they attach to it. The person with fragile self-belief interprets failure as confirmation of their worst fears about themselves, proof that they were right all along, that they shouldn't have tried, that they simply don't have what it takes. Each setback becomes another brick in the wall of their self-doubt. The person with unshakable self-belief interprets the same failure entirely differently. They see it as feedback, as a navigation signal, as valuable information about what approach needs adjustment. They understand instinctively that failure is not the opposite of success. It's a chapter in the story of success. Every setback becomes evidence of their resilience, proof that they're pursuing something significant enough to be genuinely difficult. This difference in interpretation is not a natural personality trait. It's a skill that can be learned, practiced, and eventually made automatic. You can develop such a powerful and healthy relationship with setbacks that you actually become grateful for them, because you know from direct experience that they are reliably making you stronger, smarter, and more capable with each encounter. The first essential step in developing failure-proof self-belief is learning to separate your results from your identity. Your worth as a person is not determined by your performance in any single situation, any single quarter, any single attempt. You are not your failures any more than you are your successes. You are a being of enormous potential who is temporarily experiencing certain results based on your current level of skill, knowledge, and strategy, all of which can be developed. When something doesn't work out as you planned, consciously resist the urge to let it mean something about your fundamental capabilities. Instead of, "I'm not good at this," try, "This specific approach didn't produce the results I wanted." Instead of, "I always fail," try, "This particular strategy needs significant adjustment." The difference between these framings might seem subtle, but the cumulative effect on your self-belief over time is profound. Develop a regular practice of extracting lessons from setbacks within a short time of experiencing them, ideally within a day or two, once the initial emotional intensity has settled. Ask yourself 3 specific questions. What did I genuinely learn from this experience? How can I use this information to improve my approach going forward? What strengths did I demonstrate in how I handled this, even though the outcome wasn't what I wanted? This practice trains your mind to mine genuine gold from even the most disappointing experiences. It transforms the relationship between you and setbacks from adversarial to educational. Failures stop being things that happen to you and start being things that happen for you, for your development, your refinement, your growth. Understand that failure is often not an obstacle to success. It's a necessary ingredient in it. The Wright brothers didn't achieve flight on their first attempt or their 10th. Edison famously worked through thousands of failed iterations before the light bulb worked. Every breakthrough achievement, every genuine innovation, every lasting success story is built on a foundation of lessons extracted from earlier attempts that didn't work. Create what some successful people call a resilience record, a running document of every meaningful challenge you've overcome, what you learned from each one, and how it contributed to who you've become. This practice accomplishes something remarkable. It rewires how you perceive your own history. Instead of seeing a timeline of mixed results, you begin to see a journey of continuous growth, one where every setback was ultimately in service of something greater. Develop a specific recovery ritual for after setbacks, a personal sequence you follow whenever you experience a significant failure. This might involve giving yourself space to process the initial emotions honestly, then analyzing what happened with clear eyes, then extracting the lessons, then adjusting your strategy, then taking a concrete next action step. Having a reliable, systematic approach prevents the natural tendency to wallow and gets you back into productive motion. Remember that your comeback is always greater than your setback when you handle failure with intention. Every challenge you successfully navigate makes you more capable. Every setback you transform makes your belief in your own resilience more solid. Every failure you use as a stepping stone rather than a stumbling block proves to yourself, in a way that no affirmation ever could, that you truly are unstoppable. Chapter 9. The Compound Effect of Unwavering Self-Belief. How small daily choices create extraordinary results. Most people dramatically underestimate the power of consistency and dramatically overestimate the power of singular, intense moments. They search for the big breakthrough, the dramatic turning point, the transformative event that will instantly change everything. But the most powerful force in personal development isn't the occasional heroic effort. It's the compound effect of small, consistent choices made day after day after day. Every thought you think, every action you take, every choice you make is either moving you toward unshakable self-belief or away from it. Most of these choices seem completely insignificant in the moment they occur. Choosing to replace one doubtful thought with a confident one doesn't feel revolutionary. Choosing to speak about yourself with respect in a minor conversation doesn't seem to matter much. But these seemingly small choices compound over time to create extraordinary results. The compound effect operates in both directions with equal power. Positive choices compound to create momentum and capability. Negative choices compound to create limitation and stagnation. Every time you choose self-doubt, you strengthen the neural pathways that support doubt. Every time you choose self-belief, you strengthen the pathways that support belief. Over months and years, these accumulated choices create entirely different people. When you consistently choose thoughts, actions, and behaviors that support your self-belief, something genuinely magical begins to happen. Your confidence builds momentum. Your capabilities expand. Your results improve. People around you begin to see you differently. Most importantly, you begin to see yourself differently. Not because of one dramatic moment of revelation, but because thousands of small, consistent choices have quietly built a new foundation. This is why dramatic transformation often appears to happen overnight to outside observers, but actually takes years to develop from the inside. The person who seemingly becomes successful overnight has usually been making the right small choices consistently for far longer than anyone realizes. The overnight success is almost always years in the making, built on a foundation of countless incremental decisions that finally reached a tipping point. The key to harnessing the compound effect is identifying the small daily choices that will have the biggest long-term impact on your self-belief. These are usually simple practices that are easy to do, but also easy to skip because they don't produce immediately dramatic results. Most people abandon them precisely when they're about to start paying dividends. How you start each morning is one of the highest leverage compound choices available to you. Spending the first 10 minutes of each day deliberately programming your mind for success might seem like a small thing, but over the course of a full year, these 10 minutes accumulate into 60 hours of intentional mental programming. A person who starts each day by connecting with their purpose, their capabilities, and their highest potential becomes fundamentally different from someone who starts each day in reactive mode. How you respond to the small challenges and friction points throughout your day is another high-leverage compound choice. These minor daily moments don't feel important, but they're actually the construction site of your character. Every time you choose courage over fear in a small situation, you're building the courage that will serve you in bigger ones. Every time you persist through a minor frustration, you're strengthening your persistence for major ones. The person you become in the small moments is the person you'll be when it really counts. The internal dialogue you maintain throughout each day compounds dramatically over time. The person who consistently speaks to themselves with kindness, honest encouragement, and genuine belief develops a fundamentally different relationship with themselves than someone who uses harsh, critical, or doubtful language. These conversations happen thousands of times per day, and their cumulative effect shapes your entire self-concept more powerfully than any single external event. Your posture and physical expression also compound over time in ways most people underestimate. The person who consistently carries themselves with confidence, who stands tall, makes comfortable eye contact, moves through the world with a sense of quiet authority, is literally rewiring their brain for confidence through their physiology. Your body influences your psychology more powerfully than most people realize. Small, consistent changes in how you carry yourself create significant lasting changes in how you feel about yourself. The people you spend most of your time with have an enormous compound effect on your self-belief. Consistently surrounding yourself with people who believe in you, who model genuine confidence, who challenge you to grow, gradually and inevitably elevates your own standards and expectations. The reverse is equally true. Most people significantly underestimate how powerfully their environment shapes their mindset over extended time. The key to maximizing the compound effect is combining patience with genuine consistency. You must trust the process even during the long periods when dramatic results are invisible. The compound effect is often completely invisible until it suddenly reaches a tipping point, and most people abandon their positive practices in the gap between starting them and reaching that point. Track your small daily choices to maintain awareness. Build systems rather than relying purely on willpower or motivation. Focus on the daily practices rather than obsessing over the outcomes. The choices you make today seem small, but they are actively shaping the person you will be in 1 year, 5 years, 10 years. Choose thoughts that strengthen your foundation. Choose actions that demonstrate your capability. Choose relationships that expand your belief in what's possible. These choices will compound into an unstoppable version of yourself that your current self can barely imagine. Chapter 10. Becoming Mentally Invincible. The unbreakable mindset that nothing can shake. There comes a moment in the journey of genuine self-belief development when you cross a threshold. On one side of this threshold, your confidence still fluctuates based on circumstances. A good day lifts you, a bad day deflates you, criticism wounds you, praise elevates you. On the other side of this threshold, your self-belief becomes absolutely unshakable. Completely independent of what's happening around you, you become mentally invincible. Mental invincibility is not delusional thinking. It's not pretending to be perfect or believing you'll never face difficulty. It's developing such a deep, settled knowing of your own resilience, adaptability, and inherent worth that external circumstances simply lose their power to diminish you. Not because you're impervious to the world, but because you know with bone-deep certainty that regardless of what happens, you will handle it, learn from it, and emerge from it stronger. The mentally invincible person understands in their core that they are not their circumstances. They know their value doesn't fluctuate based on quarterly results, other people's opinions, or temporary setbacks. They've developed an internal anchor, a deep, stable sense of who they are and what they're worth, that holds them steady regardless of whatever storms rage in the external world. This anchor isn't built on hope or optimism. It's built on knowledge accumulated through repeatedly discovering they can handle what life brings. This unbreakable mindset is supported by several foundational pillars. The first is genuine self-acceptance, making authentic peace with your humanity. The mentally invincible person has stopped requiring themselves to be perfect as a condition for feeling worthy. They accept their flaws, acknowledge their mistakes, and embrace their imperfections without letting these human qualities diminish their fundamental sense of value. The second pillar is outcome independence. The mentally invincible person is fully committed to their goals and works relentlessly toward them, but they are not attached to specific outcomes for their sense of identity or worth. This freedom from attachment paradoxically makes success more likely while removing the desperation that so often sabotages it. The third pillar is radical responsibility. The mentally invincible person takes complete ownership of their experience without falling into victim thinking or blame. They understand that while they cannot always control what happens to them, they have absolute control over their response. The fourth pillar is anti-fragility. Challenges don't just fail to break the mentally invincible person. Challenges actively make them stronger, more capable, and more certain of their own resilience. They have developed the remarkable ability to extract genuine strength from struggle, wisdom from adversity, and power from pressure. The fifth pillar is present moment mastery. All real power exists in the present moment. The mentally invincible person makes decisions and channels their energy from present moment clarity, rather than past conditioning or future worry. To develop this level of mental invincibility, practice deliberate worst-case scenario acceptance. Systematically imagine your deepest fears coming true, and then vividly picture yourself handling those situations with strength and dignity. When you genuinely believe you can handle anything, nothing specific can shake you. Build comprehensive evidence of your resilience by reflecting honestly on everything you've already navigated. Create a thorough inventory of every significant challenge, setback, and obstacle you've overcome in your life. This evidence proves something important about your own capability to handle what comes next. Practice deliberate voluntary discomfort, not as punishment, but as mental strength training. Take cold showers. Push yourself physically. Engage deliberately with challenging situations you would normally avoid for comfort's sake. This consistent practice teaches your mind that you can choose to enter discomfort, handle it fully, and come out the other side intact. When you become mentally invincible, you don't just believe in yourself. You know yourself. You know your worth, your resilience, your capacity for growth, your deep power. This knowing doesn't depend on external validation or proof. You have become unshakable, not because nothing affects you, but because you've developed the ability to remain centered through whatever affects you. Chapter 11, Advanced Self-Belief Strategies, Elite Mental Training for Extraordinary Confidence. The techniques that helped you build basic self-belief will not be sufficient to develop truly unshakable confidence. Just as athletes must progress from foundational training to elite-level conditioning, your mental training must evolve toward more sophisticated strategies as your self-belief grows stronger. The first advanced strategy is identity forecasting. Most people anchor their sense of self in their history, but elite performers anchor their identity in their trajectory. They live from who they are becoming rather than who they have been. Identity forecasting means making decisions today from the perspective of the person you'll be in 5 years, which accelerates transformation dramatically. The second advanced strategy is stress inoculation training, deliberately exposing yourself to controlled, graduated levels of stress to build unshakable confidence under pressure. Create a systematic program of graduated stress exposure. Speak in front of progressively larger audiences. Take on progressively more challenging projects. The goal is building such well-earned confidence in your ability to handle pressure that no situation can genuinely intimidate you. The third advanced strategy is quantum confidence. Confidence not just in your current abilities, but in your infinite capacity to develop any ability you need. You become confident not because you already know everything, but because you genuinely trust your ability to learn anything. This makes you truly unstoppable because there's no challenge you can't eventually meet through deliberate learning and persistent effort. The fourth advanced strategy is meta-confidence. Confidence in your own confidence. Meta-confidence means you trust your capacity to recover your center quickly whenever it gets disrupted. You know that even if you have moments of genuine doubt, you have the tools to return to certainty. This meta-level confidence creates stability that self-belief fluctuations can't threaten. The fifth advanced strategy is belief projection, developing such authentic, powerful confidence in your vision that it begins reshaping what others believe is possible. When your self-belief reaches this level, it becomes genuinely contagious. Your certainty inspires others to see possibilities they'd previously dismissed. The sixth advanced strategy is temporal confidence mastery, the ability to access confidence from any point in time. Practice moving your attention fluidly through time to access confidence from wherever it's most available. Past victories already won, future achievements not yet accomplished, or present moment awareness of your inherent worth. The seventh advanced strategy is integrated confidence expansion, deliberately developing confidence across all dimensions of your life simultaneously. Work systematically to close confidence gaps wherever they exist. Integrated confidence creates genuine unshakability because there are no weak points left for doubt to exploit. The eighth advanced strategy is confidence cascading, using moments of peak confidence to create anchors you can trigger later in challenging situations. Practice accessing these confidence anchors in progressively more demanding situations until they become automatic responses to pressure. The ninth advanced strategy is confidence immunity building. Just as your body develops immunity through controlled exposure, your confidence develops immunity to doubt through systematic exposure to confidence challenges. Eventually, you become so immune to doubt that nothing external can shake your inner certainty. These advanced strategies create levels of self-belief that most people consider impossible. They transform confidence from an emotional state into an unshakable identity, not a temporary feeling, but a permanent way of being. Chapter 12, Handling Critics and Doubters. Bulletproof confidence in a world of negativity. The moment you begin believing in yourself genuinely and powerfully, you will inevitably encounter resistance. People who have accepted limitation as permanent will feel uncomfortable with your refusal to do the same. Critics and doubters will emerge from places you didn't expect, sometimes from people you thought were firmly in your corner. This resistance is not personal, even when it feels deeply personal. Your growth holds up a mirror to other people's choices. Your confidence makes their insecurities more visible to themselves. Some people will react to your transformation with negativity not because they want you to fail, but because your progress makes them uncomfortable with their own stagnation. When someone doubts your abilities or dismisses your goals, they are almost always revealing something about their own psychology, their own unexplored fears, their own abandoned dreams, their own internalized limitations. Their doubt is projection, not perception. The first principle for handling critics is considering the source with genuine discernment. The perspective of someone who has achieved what you're working toward carries different value than the perspective of someone who has never seriously attempted anything significant. Ask yourself honestly whether you would want to trade lives with the person criticizing you. If the answer is no, their opinion about your choices becomes interesting but ultimately irrelevant. Learn to distinguish precisely between genuine feedback and attacks. Genuine feedback is specific, actionable, offered with authentic intent to help you improve. Attacks are general, designed to undermine. Welcome genuine feedback. It helps you grow. Recognize attacks for what they are and practice letting them pass through you without catching. The most bulletproof protection against criticism is developing outcome independence, not needing external approval for your sense of worth. When your confidence is generated internally, criticism loses its capacity to wound you at a deep level. You can hear other people's opinions, consider them thoughtfully, and make your own decisions, all without being emotionally destabilized. Practice the redirect strategy with every piece of criticism you receive. Ask yourself whether the criticism contains any genuinely useful intelligence about obstacles you might face. Use criticism as strategic information rather than evidence to feel bad about yourself. Always respond from the high road, from genuine strength, calm, and certainty about your own path. Respond with grace and confidence. Thank people for their perspective, acknowledge it without accepting their conclusions, and continue pursuing your goals. This response often disarms critics precisely because it refuses to give them the emotional reaction they might be seeking. Remember the spotlight effect, the well-documented cognitive bias that makes us dramatically overestimate how much attention other people actually pay to us. Most people are so absorbed in managing their own lives that they barely register what you're doing for more than a moment. Build a genuinely supportive network that provides consistent emotional ballast against inevitable negativity. Actively cultivate relationships with people who believe in growth, who understand the challenges of pursuing excellence, and who celebrate your progress. These relationships create a psychological foundation that absorbs the impact of external criticism. Remember that receiving significant criticism is often a sign you're making meaningful progress. People rarely criticize those playing small or pursuing entirely safe paths. Let your critics become inadvertent evidence of your relevance. Chapter 13. Creating your unstoppable identity. The person you must become to achieve everything you want. Your current identity is the invisible ceiling on your potential. No matter how much you want to achieve, how hard you work, or how many strategies you learn, you will never permanently rise above your own self-concept. Identity is not fixed. It is a choice, a decision about who you will be, regardless of who you have been. Your unstoppable identity is not who you are right now. It's who you must become to create everything you want. It's the version of yourself that already exists as pure potential, waiting for you to step into it with full commitment. Getting crystal clear about the specific characteristics of your unstoppable self is the essential first step. How does your unstoppable self think differently than you think today? What beliefs do they hold? How do they speak to themselves in private? How do they respond when things go sideways? What standards do they maintain in every area of life, even the areas no one else sees? Write a detailed, specific description of your unstoppable identity. Don't constrain it to what seems realistic based on your current circumstances. Describe the person you would become with unlimited confidence and unlimited capability. Your unstoppable identity operates from fundamentally different assumptions. Where your current self might think, I hope this works out, your unstoppable self thinks, I will find a way to make this work. Where your current self sees problems, your unstoppable self sees raw material for solutions. These aren't just more optimistic perspectives. They're identity-level programs that determine your automatic responses to everything life brings. The process of identity transformation requires consistent identity rehearsal, practicing being your unstoppable self in smaller, lower-stakes situations until it becomes genuinely natural. Start with one characteristic of your unstoppable identity and practice it consistently for one full week. Each week, add another characteristic until you're embodying your unstoppable identity across all dimensions of your life. Your unstoppable identity requires systematically upgrading your standards across every area of life. The person who accepts mediocrity in small things will find it difficult to sustain excellence in important things. Raise your standards to match your unstoppable identity, and then honor those standards even when it's inconvenient. Your physical environment should reflect and reinforce your unstoppable identity. Organize your spaces to support peak performance. Surround yourself with visual reminders of your capabilities. Your environment programs your subconscious constantly. Make sure the programming works for you. Your social environment matters even more than your physical one. You cannot sustain an unstoppable identity while consistently surrounding yourself with people who think small and normalize limitation. Actively and deliberately seek out relationships with people who embody the characteristics you're developing. Your unstoppable identity must be continuously reinforced through deliberate action. Make your daily decisions from your unstoppable identity rather than your historical limitations. Ask yourself consistently, what would my unstoppable self do in this exact situation? Then do that, regardless of how uncomfortable it initially feels. Every choice either strengthens your new identity or returns power to your old patterns. You are the author of your own story, and every action you take writes the next line. Chapter 14. Living from Unshakable Self-Belief, the Daily Reality of the Truly Confident. When self-belief becomes truly unshakable, it transforms from something you have to something you simply are. It stops being a temporary state you access during peak moments and becomes your permanent baseline, your natural way of existing in the world. The person living from genuine, unshakable self-belief wakes up each morning with absolute certainty about their worth and capabilities. Not arrogance, not delusion. A quiet, settled knowing that transcends whatever circumstances the day might bring. This knowledge creates a calm, grounded confidence that others can sense even before a word is spoken. Throughout the day, challenges arise, just as they do for everyone else. But the person with unshakable self-belief interprets those challenges completely differently. Where others see problems, they see opportunities to demonstrate their capabilities in real time. Where others feel stress, they feel the familiar aliveness of being genuinely engaged. Their internal dialogue sounds nothing like the self-critical commentary that runs on autopilot in most people's minds. This person makes decisions with clarity and confidence because they trust their own judgment. They don't spiral endlessly through second-guessing or seek endless opinions to validate what they already know. They gather relevant information, make a decision, and commit fully. If a decision proves less than optimal, they adjust course without self-punishment. Their relationship with fear has been fundamentally transformed. Instead of retreating from situations that make them nervous, they move toward them with genuine curiosity. They feel fear, real fear, just like everyone else. But they interpret it as a signal of growth potential rather than a stop sign. In social interactions, their unshakable self-belief creates a presence that draws people naturally. They don't seek approval or validation because they already approve of themselves completely. This freedom from neediness, this lack of quiet desperation, makes them remarkably attractive to others. People are instinctively drawn to those who are genuinely comfortable in their own skin. They express their thoughts and perspectives freely and with conviction. They speak from a place of genuine belief in the value of their perspective while remaining genuinely open to other viewpoints. This combination, confident self-expression plus authentic openness, creates a presence that people find both trustworthy and inspiring. When criticism arrives, they listen for useful information without being emotionally destabilized. Their sense of worth doesn't depend on the critic's approval, so they can receive even harsh feedback with relative equanimity. They extract what's useful, discard what isn't, and make their own decisions. They set clear boundaries without guilt and without extensive justification. They say no to requests that don't align with their priorities without needing to over-explain. Their self-respect is genuine and non-negotiable. Their approach to ambitious goals is characterized by the quiet certainty of someone who has already decided they will succeed, regardless of how long it takes or what adjustments are required along the way. They don't hope they'll achieve their objectives. They know they will, not because they have guaranteed outcomes, but because they have unshakable commitment and proven resilience. This is not a fantasy. This is the genuine, lived experience of someone who has done the consistent work of developing real, deep, unshakable self-belief. The path from where you are to this reality is simply a matter of consistent practice, gradual transformation, and unwavering commitment to becoming who you are capable of being. Chapter 15. The Unstoppable. You, your complete transformation and unlimited future. You began this journey as someone hoping to believe in yourself a little more. You are ending it as someone who knows, with a kind of knowing that lives in the body, not just the mind, that you are unstoppable. This transformation isn't fragile or temporary. It's permanent and self-reinforcing because you haven't just acquired techniques. You have fundamentally rewired your brain, restructured your identity, and rebuilt your relationship with your own potential from the ground up. The person you were when you first encountered these ideas no longer fully exists. That person was constrained by self-doubt, limited by fear, and held in place by patterns of thinking that kept them safely small. The person you are becoming, the person you are right now, in this moment of recognition, operates from an entirely different set of assumptions about what is possible, what you deserve, and what you are genuinely capable of creating. You now understand, at a level deeper than intellectual agreement, that self-belief is a decision, not a circumstance. You don't wait to feel confident before acting confidently. You act, and the confidence follows. You don't hope you're capable. You know you're capable because capability isn't a fixed gift. It's developed through consistent practice and persistent effort. Your brain has been in the process of rewiring itself through everything you've engaged with here. The neural pathways that once served self-doubt are weakening. The pathways supporting unshakable confidence are being strengthened with every repetition. Your subconscious mind is developing new automatic patterns, thoughts, feelings, and behaviors that align with your unstoppable identity rather than your old limitations. The fears that once held you paralyzed have become sources of information and fuel for growth. You understand that fear points toward the direction of your next breakthrough. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's sustained action in the presence of fear. And you have proven your courage to yourself in ways that no one can take from you. You no longer require validation from others to feel good about yourself. Other people's opinions have become genuinely interesting data to consider, rather than verdicts to fear. You can receive genuine praise without being inflated and honest criticism without being shattered, because the foundation of your self-worth is now internally generated. Your relationship with failure has been completely transformed. You no longer fear it as a verdict on your worth. Failure is feedback, course correction, valuable intelligence about what needs to change. Every setback is a setup. Every obstacle is raw material for growth. You have become genuinely anti-fragile, not just resistant to adversity, but actively strengthened by it. Your goals and ambitions have expanded because you're no longer shrinking them to fit your old self-concept. You dream bigger because you know your capacity to achieve grows with consistent effort and genuine belief. You pursue goals that genuinely excite you, challenge you, and stretch you. The compound effect of all your new mental habits has created genuine momentum. Every day, you become more confident, more capable, and more completely yourself. This momentum is self-reinforcing. Each win builds the next. Each breakthrough expands the space for the one that follows. Your presence in the world has changed. People respond to you differently because you show up differently. Your confidence is genuine and quietly magnetic, attracting opportunities, meaningful relationships, and resources that align with who you've become. Your vision for your future is no longer a tentative hope. It's an inevitability you're building toward with every single choice. This certainty isn't based on guarantees from the external world. It's based on the unshakable internal knowledge of your own persistence, your capacity to adapt, your commitment to growth. You have become the person you always sensed you could be, but were perhaps afraid to fully claim. You have stepped into your full power, not with arrogance, but with the quiet, settled authority of someone who has done the inner work and earned their own respect. But this is not an ending. It's a foundation. The confidence you've developed is a growing capacity. The self-belief you've built is a launching pad. The unstoppable identity you've claimed is the beginning of everything that comes next. The world needs the full, unedited, unstoppable version of you. Your unique combination of experiences, perspectives, and potential can contribute something that no one else can. You are no longer hoping to become someone capable. You have become someone capable. You are no longer working toward confidence. You have developed genuine confidence. You are no longer trying to believe in yourself. You have forced yourself to believe in yourself so completely, so thoroughly, so permanently, that doubt no longer has a foothold. You are unstoppable, not as a future aspiration, as a present reality. Your unstoppable future begins right now with your next thought, your next choice, your next step forward.